Hi everybody, Dr. Anjana Bhana here, and welcome back to my channel. Today we have Dr. Shahien Dollie with us. Fresh off the needle, as they say.
Fresh off the slate.
So Shahien and I are going to be chatting about all like small little controversies surrounding botulinum toxin, and people know it as this. We're not going to say the brand
The
name,
various brand names, but botulinum
yeah,
toxin.
And the problems associated with botulinum toxin. But how are you doing, Shahien?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
Booyah.
And tell me, like, what have you encountered in your practice as a potential botulinum toxin problem? Like, what do you get the most?
You know, the one big controversy, since you mentioned that, has been coming out of COVID and during the COVID era, that there's, at least from our colleagues, have mentioned that the duration of action of the botulinum toxin didn't quite last as long as it normally does.
Yes.
But I must say, personally, in my own practice, patients that came back to me, I didn't get any. Did you?
You know, maybe one or two, but it's not widespread. It's not a widespread, like everybody getting it. There have been one or two, I must be honest, but you know, you're talking about this, but this is not like countrywide, like in South Africa. This is like a world, like a global sort of complaint. So I'm not sure what the
what's the etiology? What's the reasoning behind it? Is it because your injection span is not quite as often as it would have been?
Like, so you're more expressive?
Is it that because you're being locked down, you're not doing and maintaining yourself as often? Is it the fact that you don't have to dress up, and for a month or two everyone was just wearing PJs and chilling at home and not really looking after their skin?
So, but this was now... I'm talking
about 2020.
But now people are still complaining, and you think, is it valid? Or like,
so this is the real question.
So I don't know, people blame COVID for a lot of things. So we were at a recent, you guys weren't there, but anyway, we were at a recent FILLER event thingy, and they were talking about botulinum toxin and how, due to they said there were papers describing how the vaccine may have affected, or having COVID may have affected the duration, the longevity, but I don't know, because sometimes when you ask patients, like the two patients that had the complaint, like, I don't think it's lasting as long as it used to. Never had COVID. So
maybe it was a subclinical COVID infection. Possibly that's the. What did you do with them, by the way? Did you change brand?
You know, I do like a particular brand, but if that does happen, I do tend to change brand. I up the dosage. I just up the dosage.
Yes.
So it's also dose dependent, but but you know, I was surprised. You know, even with that dose that I did use, it was I don't do baby tox and all of that, because that doesn't last very long. It doesn't give a satisfactory result.
And none of us are babies.
Yes. Wow.
I've had one patient. I do have one patient who does require a serious dosage, generally 3 times my average dosage. But that's just what works for him. And he just has a lot of muscle.
Like,
and I've swapped.
Yes.
I've done both brands that are registered in South Africa, and it's exactly the same. So I don't think it's for him specifically. I don't think it's brand specific.
And I use normal saline. So there's
there's a controversy. Sure, should we be using bacteriostatic saline? And I err on the side of caution, much like you. I stick to plain saline. Is what it says on the box. It says on the insert. And even if this thing is ever so slightly more, my patients hardly notice the difference.
That's true. So, you know, we were just, you know, and a few of you were also part of that delegation that went to Dubai with Allergan, and they were discussing botulinum toxin resistance. And I saw it, I mean, as you do on Instagram stories. So the doctor that posted it, I messaged her and asked her, what does this, you know, because what is this, like, what are they talking about, the resistance? And they had a huge picture of Africa, all in red, resistance. And then she explained that apparently due to some Persian origin, like diaspora and whatever else, and on chromosome 3 and 6, there's some mutation. So a lot of patients of African descent, Persian descent, are resistant to.
So there could be some genetic preponderance, but I must say, in my own patient profile, I don't see this.
Although I've had patients complain, say they go to a practitioner and they use a certain type of botulinum toxin, and I know the brand I prefer, and they'd say, oh, it doesn't work, it hasn't worked for me, I've been there 3 times, so let's try you. And then I would use my preferred brand, and it works. She's like, yes, I knew I wasn't resistant, but you don't know what it was. Was it the brand? Was it the dose? Was it
Here's the question.
Yeah.
On your average patient, when you're injecting botulinum toxin, how many times a year do you do your injection to maintain that patient?
So we do, and not everyone comes. You guys must come for your follow-ups.
Guys, come.
But we do give you, we give our patients a 3-month reminder. So they should come at like the 3 to 4 month mark for their treatment. So sometimes if you leave it for like a year or whatever else,
which means 3 to 4 injections. But and this is, and I think this is not just in your practice, it's in my practice too. And I think this is the average.
Yeah, and then you'll see it. It'll be in our caption down below. It's a link to one of our very first videos about, is 100 units the new sort of norm almost? And I think in the past we may have been underdosing patients. So previously when we first started, it was very little around this crow's feet area. So now these are FDA approved indications. When we first started, I mean, we look like, I think we don't look like that, right? So I won't tell you when we first started doing this.
Secrets now.
It was just this area, the glabella, that was FDA approved, and they had like their 20 units. Now it's the forehead or frontalis around the eyes. So it was it's 20 units here, and then 24 units around the eyes.
And I think we have to be careful about units, because a unit is a unit for a specific brand and is not necessarily extended. So, that is something that you guys out there should know.
So not Spaywood units, Allergan units. So it's called Allergan units, So, but you know that the units, people think they need very little, but if you do an entire face, neck, and it's quite a few units.
There's this underlying philosophy that when we move muscles in our faces, we have a proprioception, a part of our brain that tells us where our lips are, how high our eyebrows are. And when we're using botulinum toxin, we can modulate the muscle so that less parts of the brain are lighting up when we're interacting. And the idea is that if we can eliminate or soften the response across a whole zone, odds are, and this is the suggestion, that the botulinum toxin would last longer because your brain is less lit up, shall we say, over the period of time, as opposed to only during neurotoxin in one area, but instead treating the area as a region of the upper face, as opposed to just doing, like you said, historically just the frown or just the crow's feet.
Okay, and also that goes into doing your treatments on time. But
yes, of course.
8 months, and then the muscle atrophy aspect of it. So so we also have to keep a balance, because you get a bit of muscle atrophy with the toxin. So now I see that's the new fear that's been installed, is muscle atrophy following. It's all over TikTok now. Muscle atrophy following botulinum toxin. So
this is also a controversial aspect. We know that if you were to fall and touch wood somewhere, break your leg, it doesn't happen. You go into a cast, which again, wood. You go into a cast, and you're in that cast for 6, 7, 8, 12 weeks. You take that cast off. Your leg is much smaller than it was before because you were using the muscle, and then you get muscle atrophy. And now there's this fear that by treating the musculature of the facial expression, we might get something similar.
Yes.
But it is controversial because these muscles are somewhat different, and the tonicity thereof is somewhat resistant to the formation of atrophy.
Okay.
So I think I think it's an area that deserves a little bit more attention and studying to truly prove whether you can actually cause significant atrophying of muscles of expression, as opposed to something like masseters, which is presumably a different kind of muscle fiber.
Okay.
So it's interesting and somewhat controversial topic.
Because like I primarily a dentist, and with us, muscle influences bone myofunction and all of that. And when you do palpate the masseter, if they after you've done some injections of botulinum toxin, if they've got a stroke, you can actually like bone exostoses. You can feel some bone. Of course, the mastoid process here is pulling of the sternocleidomastoid. So I think everything here in moderation and balance, so, you don't want to create, we have to go back and look at our patients, and people would have to look at patients to see, is there wasting of this area of bone? This
is something that we should be looking
muscle,
at. So you're right, there's atrophy of the muscle, which is one, but muscle that at least, for instance, in masseters, muscle that pull on bone will have an effect on the bone in itself. So that's another thing that we should be looking at.
And what about now face yoga, right? What are your... Let's get some fun stuff in here. Face
yoga. Okay.
Versus botulinum toxin.
Now, I have yet to see, and maybe it does exist, but I have yet to read a scientific publication that says, hey, you do this kind of face yoga for this amount of time, this is going to be the end result. And I think as medical practitioners, dentists and doctors, primarily we scientists.
Yes.
We have to adhere to the science. So if there's not a lot of scientific backing, are we just peddling snake oils?
I'm going to do this in another video about viewing oral pulling versus like face yoga.
Yes,
because that's that myofunctional muscle influencing bone. But my problem with these things is like, don't do botulinum toxin, do face yoga, or don't do face yoga.
Yes.
The patches, guys. The more the more weapons you have, the better against whatever you're fighting.
I think we do have to have an open mind for advancing technologies. But I also think as practitioners, we shouldn't be necessarily prescribing things that haven't been proven in place of things that have. But that doesn't mean we should close the doorway towards further investigation. Certainly not.
Okay. Oh, well, thank you, Shahien, for that.
So now I'm going to
talk on botulinum toxin.
I'm going to go for my face yoga right now.
We have real answers after that. And we're like, it was like, I don't know.
But this is the beauty. This is the beauty of aesthetic medicine, is that it's constantly evolving.
Yes.
And it is important to ask these questions.
But you did mention something important, and we're going to talk about it in another video about medical misinformation, is opinion versus evidence. So, and I also get drawn into TikTok as a practitioner, as a person. So that's another video we're going to be talking about some of these things. But thanks, Shahien. This was a fun talk.
It was a fun talk.
It was. If you guys have any videos, questions, or anything you'd like us to do, drop them in the comments down below. Questions about this video, same thing. Like, share, and subscribe. Bye.